She could not help but wonder if her guardians hadn't thrown an occasional sop to her professors, i.e., to the tune of month-long paid vacations on the Florida Riviera, or perhaps depletion allowances to help them refurbish their winter hideouts in Rio in order to sweeten their evaluations of her academic performance. It frazzled her no end that her profs would shower her effusively with unstinted praise for her slovenly efforts, whilst retaining fixed, morose expressions on their faces, and studiously avoiding eye contact with her as they did so. If they happened to smirkle whilst pouring out their plaudits, they would use their mouth muscles, yet remain close-lipped, without any visible tightening of the skin around their orbits. Engaging teams of shadow scholars to do her assignments for her gave Melody a fractional peace of mind, albeit an unresty one at that, insomuch as it made her feel tranquilly, if not complacently, confident that whatever grades she received for their work, that is, the screeds she paid them to write for her to which she boldly appended her name, would more closely coincide with the intrinsic merits of the scholarly research undertaken in her behalf. This muffled her confidence to a certain degree. Be that as it might, she knew of many failings of students from her own social set, who made more than ample use of such ghostwriting services. She thus rationalized that there was nothing whatsoever, inasmuch as she could determine, that could be even quasi-legitimately construed as bordering upon the unethical in reference to the aforesaid practice, especially given the key note that plagiarism per se, as Melody forstood its definition in the abstract, involved cases in which writers of dissertations and such like actually surrepted other people's ideas without gaining their official sanction to do so, i.e., through the instrumentality of notarized affidavits, under-the-table gratuities, badger games, and the rest, and or without properly begrudging attributions of authorship with respect to the source materials purloined. Whereas, contrariwise, in situations such as her own, in which financially privileged students employed adjuncts from the staffs of online custom essay writing services, one would actually have to cough up extortionately high fees, sometimes in excess of the so-called minimum wage, for express authorizations to append their nomenclatures to the treatises composed at their behest. A radically different concept from plagiarism, as Melody saw it, for everything was done above board, with all the proper waivers signed, fees paid, and so on. It was a win-win situation, as many authors of self-help manuals tend to instyle such transactions. Further over, the ethical gray zone, if indeed there was one, which there wasn't, was vastly overshadowed by the fact of one's having the wherewithal to pay top dollars for such services. For if one possessed the tangible assets to do so from day one, It meant that one was not only legally entitled, but morally justified in partaking of the fruits of one's exploitations. Be that as it might, a little stimulation of the circulation here and there stood the stagnant economy of Melody's time in good stead.